All right.
We did it. Oh my gosh. This is fun technology. Zoom and Facebook coming together. This is my first time. Hi, everybody. I'm Marisa Maggio Harelson, and I am with Dr. Jeffrey Fannin, a world-renowned neuroscientist. What happened? Are we still on?
Yeah, we're still,
okay.
I just moved that down.
Oh, okay. That's good.
Down
oh.
all the way.
You're seeing chakras here. We're going to talk all about that first, but I first want to just really edify this man who just so blessed. What does a neuroscientist and a yoga teacher have in common?
Brain power.
Brain power. Both biohackers trying to get the brain to work well. And I'll tell you, many of you know I'm very, very passionate about health and wellness and just living a healthy life, and also trying not to have the things that happened to my parents happen to me. And Alzheimer's, my dad passed from Alzheimer's a couple of years ago, and then my mom passed away from, we think, a heart attack quickly. She was gone like that. So anyway, but my journey, I have been into health and wellness for most of my adult life, and due to that, I've gotten to meet amazing people like Dr. Jeffrey Fannin, who, another thing that we have in common, which makes me feel so good, is we both have degrees in communications.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
that's true.
right?
I hadn't even thought about that.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So he's like, we're setting up the lights in here in his office in Glendale here in Arizona. And he says, oh, yeah, I was a producer for a TV station. And I said, really? And I was a reporter for many TV stations, including in Phoenix. So that was kind of fun. Another thing we don't have in common, he was a pilot, a commercial airline pilot. We definitely do not have that in common. I like to fly, but I don't like to fly an airplane.
I do.
Yeah. So it's fun. We're having a lot of fun here. We've gotten to know each other through a business that we're both in together. And that just really shows me just the validation of nutrigenomics. But we're going to talk about meditation today because my dear, dear friend and teacher, Angie Hall, has transformed my life in the last year to teaching me. I actually have a 700-hour yoga teacher training certification now, but I don't really even care about the numbers. I feel like I'm eternally a student, always learning. I feel like I'm still at this level, and I have way more to go to learn. But something that she has pounded in us is to the power of meditation. Well, guess what? Dr. Jeffrey Fannin has been meditating for most of your adult life.
Pretty
right?
much.
And
traveling around the world, measuring meditators and doing all kinds of amazing things to really understand how people do it or how they don't do it. What I find is most people have no clue what they do.
Right. And even with him brain mapping me last weekend during meditation, it's interesting, and you'll see the results. Even though I've been meditating for a while, this takes years and years. So people say, oh, I can't calm my mind. Those are the people that need to do this more than anything, which is me. I'm one of those people still today.
Yeah.
And another thing we have in common, this is really awesome. We both like Star Wars and R2-D2. He's got this on his shelf with these beautiful crystals behind me. And listen, Dr. Fannin, he trained, many of you will know who Dr. Joe Dispenza is. He's also a world-renowned neuroscientist, written many books, and Dr. Fannin actually trained him.
Yeah, we did. I traveled with him for almost 5 years, and we did a lot of work together with meditators. And so in his book, The Placebo, the brain maps in there, I did. Yeah.
So can I have your autograph after this? My palms are sweating, but I'm going to put on the most amazing hand cream in the world.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we're going to get started here. He's going to share screens, and we're going to talk, first of all, what the heck is a chakra? Chakra. We have to say chakra. Chakra.
Yeah, can't quite roll my tongue.
I'm working on it. So basically, they are energy, vortex of energies through the spine. I'm going to let you give the medical term more and talk a little bit more. Why, this is this voodoo?
No, it's not voodoo.
Or woo-woo?
Absolutely not. It is, for a lot of people, it is kind of woo-woo because in the movie that I was in, PGS, and Dean Radin is in there, and he's talking about the chakras. He says, I believe they exist, but we don't have any way to really measure them or quantify this information. And I beg to differ, because I'm going to show you that we actually can measure them and quantify that and show that they actually are real things and what they actually do. So,
because what happens is our chakras get blocked. They get blocked by the stresses of life, right?
Right.
Physical stress, emotional stress, environmental stress. And guess what it causes? Issues in the tissues.
Yeah, hey, I like that. Issues in the tissues.
Yeah, so we're gonna have fun today because he's the brainiac, but I'm kind of the, I don't know, the creative wonder.
The yoga teacher.
All right,
the one that lent her brain and all of this.
I know. So he comes over to my house last Saturday at 6 a.m. and we set up in my backyard. And
beautiful backyard, by the way.
Oh, thank you. And he put all this stuff on my head, and no, they were not needles. But take it away. Let's show people what this is and why meditation is so important.
Yeah, we didn't know if we were going to find anything or not, but we looked at her brain, and the first thing was the brain was working. We just didn't know how well until a little bit later.
So this is my brain before meditation. This is my brain after meditation.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the first things we do, we did this process called GDV, gas discharge visualization. And so one by one, we had Marisa put her fingers down on the camera lens, and then we took a picture of that. So this depiction here helps us understand. I mean, even though her finger was actually down on the glass, this is just a graphic to help you understand what goes on, that a 10 millivolt charge comes up from the camera in contacting the finger, which causes a discharge of energy around the finger. Now, what does that look like? This is the scientific representation. We can see lots of little demarcations here that have numbers, and this helps us understand how it relates to various organs in the body. We'll talk more about that a little bit later. So these are her chakras before, and so yeah, we have the.
Well, tell them what the chakras are actually.
Okay, one. Sure. Down here, the red, we have the root chakra, and then
Muladhara.
Yes,
that's what you say in Sanskrit. Muladhara.
Right, and here they are, right there.
The root chakra, grounding.
Yeah, grounding chakra. Then we have our sacral chakra here.
Swadhisthana. My yoga teacher is gonna be very happy with me.
Yeah, good.
and
then we have the solar plexus here in the yellow.
Solar plexus, the Manipura, which is it's kind of your wisdom, how you are perceived, but also how you show up in the world.
Right. You see, she's actually showing up in the world here.
Woohoo!
So then the heart chakra.
That is, of course, the Anahata, and that is your heart chakra, the green. And mine is a little off, and that's so weird because I got a heart of gold.
I know, but we'll talk about why that is.
And my sacral, my second and my fourth chakra. I'm a little concerned here.
Yeah. So then the throat chakra up here.
That's your Vishuddha, speaking your truth.
Yes. And then your third eye, which is the sixth chakra here.
Right, the subtle intelligence and the subtle body, the intelligence.
Yeah, so it deals a lot with the pineal gland there and opening things up. And what a lot of people don't quite understand about that is that as we get older, the area around the pineal gland begins to calcify. So doing meditation and pulling energy up through the chakra center helps that to decalcify and to get more information. And then, of course, we have the crown chakra up here.
Sahasrara, which is bliss.
And now you can see...
what we're all striving for.
Right. You can see over here we have actual numbers that indicate where the level of chakra is, and that determines like the size of the chakras. And here we have a...
chakras.
Chakras, yes. Not like chocolate, it's chakra. So there's also a line here. You can see that I'm pointing at this line, and there are over 5,000 people in the normative database. So this line is representative of that normative database. And so it's using her demographics, male, female, left, right hand, age, in order to determine where she falls either above or below that normative database. So let's go to the next one.
I don't like, whoa.
Yeah, now here's after she did the meditation.
Wow, go back and look at before,
Yeah.
and look at the second and the fourth chakra. So the sacral and the heart.
Yeah.
Just a little bit off, okay?
Yeah, well, let's look at them side by side here. How's that?
Wow.
That make it a little easier?
Before and after meditation. It's about a 30-minute meditation.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so we recorded all that time and then began to process it in a lot of different ways that we're going to share with you here. So you not only can understand, what the chakras are, what they look like, and those kinds of things, but also how it responds in the brain. So when I can also then take the information and lay one on top of the other, and we can see, like here in the heart chakra, see this blue outline here,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can see over here how much it moved up. So this is the after, this is the before. Helps us really understand, that there actually were shifts due to the meditation here. But wait, there's more. Okay, so we
I need popcorn.
Yeah. So we look at the energy field here. So the left side over here is the emotional energy. The right side is physical energy. The top row is before, and the bottom row is after. Now, when we were doing this, and I mentioned to Marisa, I said, I can see that the after is bigger, but if you look at this, unless you have the
It's hard
trained
for
eye,
me to see what this
Yeah.
is.
So-
It doesn't make sense to me.
So we invoked statistics here to graph it.
This is why he's the neuroscientist.
So anyway, the one on the left is emotional. The one on the right is physical. The blue is before, and the orange is after. So you can see a big change in both
Wow.
emotional and physical energy. There was a shift in the energy, getting the energy to flow in the body, even with somebody who's been doing this for a long time.
Wow.
So it just shows the power of being able to move that energy. And one of the papers that I have coming out is peer-reviewed, and coming out deals with energy healing. So back in 2015, we had 60 known energy healers in that study, and we came out with some pretty fabulous stuff, and now it's getting published in the Journal of Brain and Behavioral Science. So,
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well,
so
that's fascinating.
yeah,
He's doing research, and there's even an opportunity. We'll talk a little bit about that.
yeah. So
So what is this?
this is what we call a diagram, and so it's kind of hard to read out here where all these words are, but these are organs or systems of the body.
Yeah,
that are important.
cardiovascular,
Yeah.
ascending colon, appendix, all kinds of the thorax, sacrum, hypothalamus. So this is on the brain. Yeah.
So here's the important part. When we look at, let's just focus in this area right here.
Okay.
So we have red and blue.
Right.
So the red is the emotional energy, and the blue is the physical energy. So when she says, well, what does that mean? I said, well, the blue in here is going into the pink. She said, well, what does that mean? I said, it means you're burning a candle at both ends and in the middle.
Oh.
Yeah. And so then here's the big deal. So after she did the 30-minute meditation, and we look at it's hard to tell here, but we have a green line and we have a brown line.
Right.
And you can see they move from being down here, just entering into the pink, which is, a lack of energy in these different systems of the body. And so it moved up. Now, here's something really interesting because we had talked about this before. And she says, well, I don't know what this is going to show because I've been on NRF1 and NRF2 for many years,
right?
Which is a great thing. But what I found,
which they don't know what it is, but that's
yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that. But they are activators in the body, and so
and natural.
Yeah, and we'll talk about mitochondria and things like that in just a second. But what I'm finding is that the average person is going to have several items that are maybe down here in the pink. And so my hypothesis at this point, when we need the research to help prove some of this stuff is that people who have been taking NRF1 and NRF2 for a period of time, that their emotional and physical energy are basically in the green. And so we see
and that's good.
Yeah, that's where we want it to be.
Yeah.
We don't want it out here in the yellow, means that it's using too much energy, or down in the pink where it's not using enough energy. So let's talk about mitochondria. When we have that vitality, when we have that energy, it is a result of the mitochondria. The food that we eat gets converted, into cellular energy. And so when we did this study in 2015, not only did we look at the mitochondria, but we looked at something called a microtubule. So the relationship in the cell of the microtubule and the mitochondria is what creates that biophotonic energy. So the energy that we feel and that is good. And what that does is it produces more ATP in the body, and that's a good thing. So we won't get into, since it's not a biology class, we won't get into.
No, but I think that's fascinating because the mitochondria is really it's the powerhouse of the cell. It's the engine, and without it, our cells die, and we die of mitochondria dysfunction, right?
Yeah, before we did this study in 2015, I was really curious because I'd never had to change the battery in somebody's brain. Where do we get the energy from? And so by looking at the mitochondria and that relationship with the microtubule, that the mitochondria, the health of the mitochondria is very important. So when we look at mitochondria that maybe is not functioning as well as it could, you can see that it's linked to all of these diseases and inflammation, like oxidative stress. If you cut an apple, you leave it in the air, it's going to turn brown.
Right.
That's basically rusting, if you will. It's the same chemical process. So when we are looking at some of these and the oxidative stress, and here's something that I found really amazing in some of the studies that I had read, Marisa, and this was alarming to me, that they took the umbilical cord from newborn babies that had never taken a breath yet, and they measured the blood in there, and they found that these babies they had already experienced 276 toxic chemicals before they ever took a breath.
Say this again. Say it again, because this is really, really important.
Right.
Because it is transferable.
Yeah, it is, and that's what happens. So before I say it again, let me add something to that, and that is that back in 1976, the Environmental Protection Agency instituted a statute because there were over 67,000 toxic chemicals on the market. Today, there are over 87,000 toxic chemicals on the market. And most of them were supposed to be measured, but they only measured a handful of them, and the ones that they measured were not good. So we're seeing an increase in the air we breathe and the food that we eat and all of these things, causing a bunch of information in our body, and it's not healthy. And so this study that I read was just, I almost started crying as a result of this, thinking about, here you have a newborn baby and the things that we don't know. And when they measured the blood and found that they had been exposed to 276 toxic chemicals before they were born. And that's why we're seeing an incidence, an increase in anxiety and depression and dementia and Alzheimer's, all of these things. I could sit here for hours and put out information, but the point is that oxidative stress is increasing, which means that disease is going to increase. And we all have it, and we can't get away from it. So having the health of the mitochondria is extremely important. So
getting back to meditation as one of the tools for your life that can help boost the mitochondria production.
Yeah, and that was one of the questions we wanted to find out, how much power is there in doing meditation as a result of this. So here's some of the other measures to help you understand. The first one we're going to look at is called integral area. How well is your body producing the energy? So over here we have on the left side, this is emotional. On the right side, this is physical. You can see all four of them are in the green. And the bottom row is after, the top row is before. So we don't see very many changes, except in physical here. This one goes up a little bit higher, where this one's not quite to the line, this one is over the line. So we see an increase in the body's ability to generate some of that. When we look at what's called integral entropy, how well is your body using the energy that you have? Over here emotionally, we can see both of them before and after is in the yellow. Now, the key to look at here is, even though before it was in the yellow this far, you can see it's a little bit less down here after meditation.
So what does that mean?
That means that the energy was flowing more in the body as a result of that. And so, yeah.
And the mitochondria also is, when you say this isn't voodoo, the mitochondria is a way for you to balance the energy of the chakras.
Yes, that's one element of it. Okay. The other thing is with the mitochondria, and a lot of people don't know or understand this, is that the brain produces more mitochondria than any other part of the body.
Yes.
So
yes.
Really important. The health of that mitochondria is going to affect the health of your brain and the ability to do what it needs to do.
Who's going to meditate?
Yeah.
Give me a 1 in that comment.
Yeah. So
we'll have a meditation get together.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about what's called activation coefficient here, how we handle daily stressors. So this is an example here. When it's in the green, it's considered to be normal. People with slight stress or emotional exertion, and remember hers were up here in the yellow, and I said she's burning a candle at both ends and in the middle, emotionally just going where she, her busy schedule and everything is going
on. And my
on.
house is in disarray, and yeah I'm busy. I know, and
it's stressful.
It's
all of it's stressful.
Right, but I'm not unhappy with the stress, but sometimes it can be a little overwhelming. I mean, I'm a human being, and
right.
Sometimes I just got to go, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like yesterday, it just chilled.
Yeah, well, and that's where meditation comes in and is a very valuable tool. Then when we get to severe stress, it's way up here in the yellow. And the last one down here deals with emotional depletion. What happens when we get overwhelmed, when all of these things begin to happen to us? The activation coefficient gets down here in the pink. So here are her, the top line is before and the bottom line is after. You can see where here her emotional stress is at down here.
0.24.
Yeah, 0.24.
Whatever that means.
And then we can see afterwards it's headed towards the green, and so we want it to get up in this range here. So there's a number of things. And this deals.
Would yours be in the green right now?
Yes, it is. I know because I measured it a number of times. Now, why is that the case? And it has to do with coherence, and our ability to generate coherence mainly in the heart chakra. So it doesn't mean that you don't have a good heart. It just means that the coherence is not as open as it could be because we have 600 million trillion cells in the body. And those cells have to be dynamic. And what that means is they have to have the coherence that's functioning in the membrane of the cell. So when it's not, then the cell dies. When we have no coherence in the organ dies. If the organ dies, guess what happens to us? We lose that coherence. So it's really important, down here, how much of this are we willing to put up with, and that being in the pink should not be an option for anybody. We want to get it up in the green. And are there ways that you can do that? Absolutely.
Give us some examples, because I'm sure most people are going to be in the pink, right?
Yeah, they are.
I'm in the pink, and I'm a yoga teacher, and I meditate.
Yeah. So,
wow. But I've only been really actively meditating since last summer, right? Pretty much every day.
Yeah.
And you've been doing it for, 40 years?
No, not quite that long, 23.
Okay, well, still.
Long time.
That's a long time.
Long time. So anyway, an example here would be heart-focused breathing. And so when you're breathing in and out, the breath is really important, as you well know in yoga, that's important. So if you're able to imagine that you're breathing in and out through your heart. Now, why would we do that? Why would we imagine that we're breathing in and out through our heart? There are 3 electromagnetic centers that are very important in the body. One is the chakra center. so that they can communicate with one another and work in harmony with the cells of the body. The second one is the electromagnetic center around the heart, and the third one is the electromagnetic center around the brain. What most people don't know is that the electromagnetic center around the heart is 60 times greater than the one around the brain.
Yes.
There are more signals going from the heart to the brain than there is from the brain to heart.
Yes.
So why would we want to have that breathing? We want to open up those things. So when you're doing yoga, qigong, tai chi, some of those kinds of things to get the energy to flow, where do they tell you to do that from? The heart.
Yes. And let me say something about that. The yoga that I have been really training with this past year, the Kriya, Himalayan Kriya flow yoga, really addresses that. Yesterday I did in my class, I did a bija, well, I won't say bija mantras, but yeah, chakra journey using really opening up each one of those chakra spaces.
Right. Very important.
And it's so important. And when you can just connect with that and connect that healing breath into those places, things shift, things change.
You can feel it too, can't you?
You can feel it. And I'm just going to say, someone that you definitely need, if you're interested in learning more, is go to angiehallyoga.com, because she is a master teacher in these trainings or in these teachings. And her teacher is in India, and I've met him when I was in India. But she does teach. I'm going to give her a plug because people need to know this information. This is how this all relates. This is why I am a biohacker, because what I do in my yoga and what I do in my health and wellness business are just living. I don't even feel like I work. I just feel like this is how I move through life. Right?
Isn't it great? It's
great. And so she is teaching at a place in Phoenix, for those of you that are in Phoenix, called The Space. I know Saturday mornings at 9 a.m., Monday nights at 6, and soon to be Wednesdays when she comes back from India. She's going to India in May or next week. And but after that, so, and even this Saturday I'll be there. It's amazing what happens and how you feel, because we are incorporating the physical practice that Westerners are very accustomed to, but we're also using the energy work that is so needed, the mind, the body connection, and the awareness to heal and to really utilize that breath. And it's transformed everything, the whole way I look at yoga. And Angie will say, if you're a yoga teacher and you're not meditating, you're not a yoga teacher.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So if people want more information about this, where do they go to get Angie's?
AngieHallYoga.com, ANGIE Hallyoga.com. She's amazing. I'm telling you, it's changed my life.
Well, let's show how this has changed your life.
Okay, yeah.
So this is a brain map. For those of you that don't know what a brain map is, this is what we call a quantitative EEG. And so we have little heads here, 1 all the way up to 30 hertz. So each of these frequencies are there. So when we look at them in groups, and I'm going to talk about the groups here in just a minute, but the colors down here based on this legend, anywhere where it's green, either on the little heads, indicates that it's normal EEG. And if it's yellow or orange, it's going to be 2 standard deviations above normal. And if it's red, it's going to be 3. Now, the other end of the scale, light blue is 2 standard deviations below normal, and dark blue is 3. Now, a lot of people equate,
what does that mean?
The light blue terms, and the dark blue, that it's deficient in some way, or the other way that there is too much energy in the yellow and yellow, orange, and red. But we're going to talk about that when we've got a real big surprise coming up for you here, and you're going to love this. So just bear with me a little bit. Let's talk about the groups here. So we have 1 hertz, 2 hertz, 3 hertz. That group is delta. And when delta is dominant, then we are actually asleep. But it also has another function. So this
these are the brain waves he's talking about.
Right. These are the brain waves. And
delta waves.
Yeah. So this 1 hertz here is part of our default network. Most human brains kind of function the same way. And so this is kind of on standby, saying, call me if you need me, kind of thing. Next group that we look at is called theta, a very creative state down in our subconscious, where our subconscious beliefs live, also our creativity. So 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 are the frequencies that were in theta. So we can see one of her dominant areas here is in the theta range, and it's over here at this location that we would call C, can't say, get it out, C4. So C4 is one of those areas. It's how do I feel about what I'm experiencing at this moment. So she's before meditation, just sitting there with eyes closed, kind of thing. When we get up to the next group, alpha, 9, 10, 11, and 12, everything looks pretty normal there.
Explain alpha too.
Yeah, alpha is what we call sensorial rest. So we are alert, but we are relaxed. And alpha is a good thing. So, you know, a lot of people don't know that Einstein wandered around in mostly an alpha state, you know, because he was very creative and he could function. He couldn't remember his own phone number, you know, but that has nothing to do with the alpha. So
because he didn't call himself.
Yeah, exactly. He didn't call himself. The next group that we look at here is 13, 14, and 15. This
Did he
group,
have a phone?
yeah, I think he had a flip phone.
Oh, Jesus. Sorry.
So anyway, 13, 14, and 15, we call this SMRs, your sensory motor rhythm. Now, here before meditation, when these are acting like this, it means she's paying attention to the things outside of her, everything that's going on around her. So she's very focused on that. The next group is beta, your thinking activity, is from 16 all the way up to 30. And we see a little bit of activity up here at this area that is called F8. And it deals with selective and sustained attention. And it also is the emotional side of that attention. You know, how do I feel about having this cap on my head and glue in my hair and all those things?
I gotta go teach a class.
Yeah, and all of the, yeah.
Yeah,
now
all
we
that
had to
stuff.
hurry and get done so she could teach class. All right, so let's go to after meditation. We can see, now we see after meditation, remember we got this blue up here. Let me go back to the first one. See, all of this up here in delta and some in theta is green. But after meditation, you see how much blue is creeping in here?
Oh, wow.
This is a marker that tells us that she is connected to the morphogenetic field, or the ether around us, if you will. You know, connecting.
The space.
Yeah. So that could be another talk for another time.
That's neat.
Because I have a graphic that really shows how, because I really wanted to know when I started some of this stuff, how does prayer work? You know, and so how does that, when we have a thought, for example, and how does that thought get out into the ether, and then the communication comes back to us? And so I learned about that. At the top of the thalamus is this little almond-shaped thing, and at the top of the thalamus.
You got your brain?
Yeah, we'll get the brain.
He's got his brain. He's got a brain on his shelf.
When I'm not using my brain, I put it on the shelf.
I love this. You know, the science of the brain and all that he's talking about, he's been doing for 20-some years, right? He's been a pilot. He's been in the communications industry. But then he becomes this neuroscientist because he's so blown away by all of this. And the science of neuroplasticity has been around. However, it's just starting to get going. And we talk about it all the time in teacher trainings.
Yeah. And neuroplasticity is important because
hold that up.
Well, I'll talk about this in just a minute.
Okay.
Let's talk about neuroplasticity for a second. For people who aren't familiar with neuroplasticity, when you are working with the brain and it causes new dendrites to form and then new neural pathways to develop, and that neuroplasticity is what allows that neural highway to be developed.
And we do that in the Kriyas, you guys. The Kriya Yoga is creating new neural pathways naturally. Yeah,
I'm turning this right. It's all backwards on my end here.
Okay. Yeah.
So here's the thalamus right here. And so from the thalamus, the top of the thalamus, we have these things called reticular cells. Great. The reticular cells, and the function of a reticular cell is to bind to another organ, in this case, the thalamus. And so then it allows other cells to connect and grow in what we call axonal columnar cells. And those go from the top of the thalamus, and this is the subconscious down here, and goes up through the top and comes out here, you know, at the crown chakra, basically,
Wow.
or where the soft spot on a baby's head is. And so when we have energy and information out here, it is coming down through that antenna, if you will,
Wow.
down through that axonal column, down into the thalamus, and then the thalamus distributes those frequencies. So part of this is about, because we're vibrational beings living in a vibrational universe, of how we can change those vibrations, and those vibrations have a lot to do with our emotions.
That is so incredible. And also, can I just mention that in meditation, the prefrontal
cortex,
lobe, the prefrontal cortex, or prefrontal lobe, will grow more gray matter.
Mm-hmm.
And even in the Kriya yogas that we do, and then what happens also is, I don't know where the amygdala is here, but
the amygdala is right here.
Okay, hold on. Show me. There. Oh my gosh, it's so little. But it's the fight and flight responses. So when people cut in front of you while you're driving, if you do a lot more meditation, instead of using the middle finger, you might use the peace fingers.
Add one more finger to it, and you're good.
Anyway.
So yeah, I want you to remember this whole area right here, you know, the limbic system, because I'm going to show you something really amazing. I don't want you to tune out on me until after you've seen it.
Don't tune out. The best is yet to come.